I didn't expect my marriage to end because of a weekend trip, but sometimes the smallest cracks reveal the biggest truths. My name is Ryan. I'm 36. And for most of my adult life I believed love was built on patience. My wife Kayla believed love was built on freedom, her freedom. Somewhere along the way, the gap between those two beliefs stretched wide enough to swallow us whole. It started on a Thursday evening in early spring. The light outside was soft and fading, the kind of warm twilight that makes you want to sit close to your partner and talk about nothing and everything. Instead, Kayla was pacing around the living room, shoving clothes into a weekend bag like she was trying to outrun something. I leaned against the kitchen doorway watching her zip up the bag. "You packed fast," I said, trying to keep my voice light. She didn't even look up. "Yeah, well, the girls booked a cabin by the lake. Last minute thing." "Last minute?" I asked. "Kayla, this is the first I'm hearing about it." She rolled her eyes and tossed a sweater into the bag. "Oh my God, Ryan. Not this again. I'm going for 2 days. 2 days? You didn't ask." I said quietly. "There it is," she muttered, zipping the bag with a sharp pull. "You always need me to ask like you're my father or something." "That's not what I said." "That's what you meant." It wasn't what I meant. Not even close. But with Kayla, meaning didn't always matter. What she heard became the truth she lived by. She slung the bag over her shoulder and headed toward the door. And then, as if she needed to punctuate the moment with one final blow, she said the line that would change everything. "If you don't like it, Ryan, then divorce me." Honestly, maybe that would be easier. I froze. It wasn't the words. It was the way she said them, casual, careless, like the marriage was a sweater she could shrug off. "Kayla," I said slowly, "that's not something you just say." She smirked. Actually smirked. "Maybe I'm just saying what we both know. Anyway, I'll be back Sunday night." And with that she walked out. The door closed, and the silence that followed felt heavier than anything I'd carried in years. I sat on the edge of the couch for a long time, staring at the hardwood floor, hearing her words echo on loop. "Don't like it, then divorce me," like it was a joke. Like I was a joke. Something inside me shifted that night, quiet, small but undeniable. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. I was tired. Tired of feeling like I was negotiating for space in my own marriage. Tired of being the steady one while she drifted further out to sea. For the first time in years I asked myself a question that felt dangerous. What if she actually meant it? What if I did too? The next morning I called Lauren, my sister. The one person who could hear the things I didn't know how to say. "She told you to divorce her?" Lauren repeated, her voice low and steady. "Yeah. And how did she say it?" Like she was recommending a new restaurant. Lauren exhaled through the phone, a soft, disappointed breath. "Ryan, you know you don't deserve that, right?" I closed my eyes. "I don't know what I deserve anymore." "Well," she said gently, "maybe it's time you start deciding." That conversation stayed with me. It repeated in my mind while I made coffee, while I sat on the porch, while the sun moved across the sky and the quiet of the house settled into something that felt like clarity rather than loneliness. By Saturday night, I was no longer waiting for Kayla to come home. I wasn't imagining apologies or explanations. I wasn't creating excuses to protect her from accountability. Instead, I was reading through the pages my lawyer friend Ethan had emailed me after I asked an almost frighteningly calm question. "What does starting divorce paperwork look like?" He sent me the basics. Nothing final, nothing filed, just the kind of documents that make a person stop and think. By Sunday evening, I printed them, placed them neatly on the dining table, and sat down in the quiet of my house, hands folded, waiting for her to return. Not because I wanted her back, but because I needed to see what she chose when her words were no longer just words. At 8:46 p.m., the front door opened. Kayla stepped inside, smelling like lake air and cheap wine. Cheeks flushed with weekend laughter she didn't share with me. She spotted me and smirked. Well, sitting here like a lost puppy. I didn't move. Her eyes flicked to the papers on the table. And just like that, the smirk vanished. Her face went white. Kayla froze mid-step, eyes darting from me to the papers, then back to me again. Her usual confidence, her teasing smirk, the sense that she was always in control. It was gone, replaced by something sharp, something vulnerable that I had rarely seen. "What's this?" she whispered, almost afraid to say it aloud. I leaned back slightly in the chair, my voice calm and measured. Papers are on the table, Kayla. Divorce papers. The words hung in the air, heavier than any argument, louder than any shouting match. For years I had hoped she would wake up, notice the neglect, the slow erosion of respect. But now, standing before me, it was clear. She had no plan to change, no desire to reconsider, and no sense of the impact of her actions, only smirks and deflections and careless words. She looked at the table, then at me, then back again. Ryan, you're serious? Her voice cracked slightly, betraying her calm facade. I nodded. Not a gesture of triumph, not vengeance, just quiet certainty. I've been serious every time you've pushed me away. Every time you laughed at my patience or ignored my effort. Every time I felt invisible while you acted like this marriage was a casual weekend project. I'm done waiting for you to value me. For a long moment she didn't respond. The silence was nearly unbearable, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was cleansing. Something had shifted. Something had finally settled into its rightful place. She finally stepped closer, hesitating as if approaching a fragile glass sculpture. Ryan, I didn't think you'd actually, her words faltered. The smirk was gone, replaced with a pale flush of fear and confusion. You didn't think I'd have a limit? I asked softly. I did, and here it is on the table. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She wanted to laugh it off. She wanted to charm, manipulate, deflect. But this time she couldn't. This time there was no one to rescue her from the consequences of her own words. No excuses, no apologies, no smokescreen. Just her and the truth she had ignored for too long. I watched her, studying her reaction, and in that silence I realized something profound. This wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about punishing her. This was about reclaiming myself, about finally honoring the part of me that had been patient, kind, loyal, and entirely unseen. She dropped her gaze to the papers. Her fingers trembled slightly as she touched the edge, as if the physical weight of them carried the emotional weight she had been trying to escape all weekend. I didn't rush her. I didn't speak. I simply let her confront her choices in the way she had always made me confront mine, silently and without explanation. I guess, she began and stopped. Her eyes darted toward the doorway, then back to me, searching for some sign that I would relent, that I would forgive, that I would magically accept her casual dismissal of our years together. But there was no sign. There would be no magic, only reality. Kayla, I said, my voice steady, you told me once that if I didn't like your choices I could walk away. I didn't think you meant it as literally as you did. But here we are. Her mouth opened, then closed. A flush of panic crossed her face. Her smirk, the playful defiance she had worn like armor for years, had evaporated completely. She was seeing me, truly seeing me, for the first time in months, maybe years. And the truth, quiet and unyielding, hit her harder than I could have ever spoken. The air between us was thick with unspoken words, years of small neglect, and the echoes of laughter that had faded from our home long ago. I had imagined many endings for this weekend. Many confrontations and arguments. None of them had prepared me for the quiet clarity that now filled the room. I stood up slowly, not to intimidate, not to flee, but simply to meet her gaze with the calm confidence I had rediscovered in the days she had been gone. Kayla, I'm not angry. I'm just done. And that is the difference. She swallowed, voice small, almost a whisper. I didn't think it would come to this. Neither did I admitted. But you made the choice the moment you smirked and dared me to divorce you. You gave me permission to act, and I did. The color returned to her face, but it was the pale, cautious pink of someone realizing that life as she knew it was shifting beneath her feet. She wanted to protest. She wanted to charm. But I had nothing left to negotiate, nothing to explain, nothing to justify. She finally looked away, biting her lower lip, and I could see the realization settling in, slow, reluctant, undeniable. Our marriage, the one that had been built on compromise and patience, laughter and late-night talks, was over. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't drowning in confusion or anger. I was standing on solid ground. I stepped back, giving her space, and let her absorb the truth of the papers, the words, the silence. It wasn't about me winning. It wasn't about her losing. It was about the clarity that only comes when the illusions fall away, and you finally see the shape of your life clearly. Kayla's face remained pale. The smirk had vanished entirely, and for the first time I understood what freedom truly felt like. Not reckless, not chaotic, just steady, honest, and undeniable. The air in the room was different, heavier yet lighter at the same time, because the weight of pretense had lifted. I sat back down, watching her, listening to the faint rustle of the papers, and finally, for the first time in months, felt a calm that had nothing to do with her and everything to do with me. The weekend had ended, the trip had ended, and so had the illusion that our marriage could survive on smirks and careless words. I didn't need fireworks or dramatic confrontations. I only needed the truth. And now finally I had it.